Farrow, and you're watching the Charleston Times television network. I want to wish all of you a very, very Merry Christmas, and I also want to thank Joy Sanders and Becky Smythe and so many others for all their help this year. Couldn't have done it without you guys. Thanks. Merry Christmas. That said, a lot of people don't realize this, but I'm actually a columnist, and I write a column for the Charleston Mercury called the Pluff Mud Chronicles. And this Christmas, I wrote a column called Christmas Cocktails and the Reason for the Season, and I thought I would go ahead and read a bit of it to you. Charles Waring and I switch off on our memories. I'm going to read you mine, and you're going to have to go to his website to read the rest of it. This month's column is called Christmas Cocktails and the Reason for the Season. Charles, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Actually, that's not true at all. By the time you read these words, it's looked like Christmas for 6 weeks, and there's still 20 shopping days before we go to sleep with sugar plums in our heads. A cynic might say, bah, humbug. A curmudgeon might call Christmas a racket. And sadly, in some ways it really is. And yet, there's a spirit that transcends the bombardment of December to remember promises that he, she will love you forever when he, she gets that new car, new diamond tiara, that used double wide. There's a kernel of love that supersedes the frantic frenzy to find a fanfare to fit someone else's fancy. One Christmas tradition I've kept through the years has been watching It's a Wonderful Life. For that instant, every Christmas is rolled into one. And in that instant, call it the spirit of the Yuletide, it overwhelms me with the ghosts of Christmas past. Oddly, the memories, specters, if you will, that I recall the best were the years I spent at Jack and Pat Jenkins's Christmas party for a decade or so. The familiar smell of Meeting Street crab and Chanel No. 5, the taste of venison and Heaven Hill bourbon, or as Lucille Rumsey and her afternoon tea cohorts would exclaim, "Oh my heaven, it's Heaven Hill." The sight of friends and relatives you only knew at Christmas, some you suspect you were always glad to see because you knew you were only going to see them that week, all seemed to overwhelm me as George Bailey saves Bedford Falls by his very existence. I feel that moment of 35 years ago. My only regret, we were unable to stop Charleston from getting close to being Pottersville. Of course, life's timeline would proceed ever thus, and we would later experience a white Charleston Christmas. Today, those of us in that warm, welcoming moment awake to the penalties as well as the rewards of age, technology, and our more intimate city growing beyond recognition. We mourn and revere what we have lost, and we embrace the future with a renewed optimism that it will always turn out okay. It always has. Yet, as Clarence gets his wings, I can still recall the adults, Tootsie, Sam, Jack, and Berniston, telling hunting tales. As the drinks were consumed, the guns turned into howitzers and ducks into MiGs. And yet, 35 years later, even though I'm 20 years older than they were then, although I and my cohorts have told stories that will rival and perhaps outdo theirs, the familiar guffaws will always rest serene among the sugar plums in my head. Perhaps I couldn't ask for a better Christmas present. I'm David Farrow, and Merry Christmas from the Charleston Times Television Network.